We often believe that success depends only on intelligence, strategy, or luck. But if that were true, why do so many smart and disciplined people still struggle with focus, broken relationships, or missed opportunities? The truth is that success is not based only on knowledge, but on connection, and the skill that makes the difference is social intelligence. Social intelligence is not about being charming or outgoing. It is about reading unspoken signals, understanding emotions, building trust, and responding with clarity instead of impulse. It is the hidden ability that separates those who merely survive from those who inspire, influence, and leave a legacy. The good news is that it is not a gift. It can be learned, trained, and strengthened. In this journey, I will share with you 9 essential lessons to master social intelligence. Together, we will explore how to interpret emotions, practice empathy, use body language with intention, manage your own emotions, communicate with clarity, and build unshakable trust. You will learn how to stay calm under pressure, read the energy in a room, and deal with difficult people without losing yourself. Each lesson will give you tools you can apply right away in conversations, at work, in leadership, and in your personal life. This is not about tricks to impress others. It is about transforming the way you connect so that the people around you feel seen, respected, and understood. And do not miss the final lesson. It will give you the strength to face even the most challenging relationships while protecting your peace. Stay with me until the end, because once you understand these 9 principles, the way you live, lead, and relate to others will never be the same. 1. The real engine of success. Social intelligence is not a mysterious gift. It is a skill that can be developed, and like any other ability, it is learned through practice, observation, and attention. Imagine for a moment that your success does not depend on logic or luck. Most people believe that success is based on 3 things: intelligence, technical training, or fortune. These are the aspects that stand out in resumes, in interviews, or in conversations about success. But if we look closely at real life, at business, relationships, politics, or leadership, a clear detail appears. Those who move forward most steadily are not always the most prepared, but the ones who know how to relate to others, who can read people, who know when to speak and when to stay silent. They are the ones who make others feel heard, valued, and understood. And no, it is not just about charisma or having a natural talent for dealing with people. We are talking about something deeper: social intelligence, forgotten in a world full of data. Today we receive more information in minutes than previous generations saw in their entire life. We have courses, tutorials, simulations, artificial intelligence. Yet many people still feel lonely, nervous, or insecure around others. Why? Because what is missing is not technical knowledge, but the ability to sense the emotional background of a conversation. What is missing is noticing an awkward pause and understanding it. What is missing is telling the difference between a genuine smile and a forced one. And above all, what is missing is the ability to respond with humanity. So what exactly is social intelligence? It is the ability to perceive, interpret, and respond appropriately to the social signals that others are constantly sending. It is not enough to be friendly or pleasant. It is a much more refined level of interpersonal understanding. Emotional intelligence focuses on your own feelings, recognizing and managing them. Social intelligence, on the other hand, looks outward. It is your radar, your ability to read the atmosphere, to sense what is not said, to feel what others feel, and to act with clarity without being trapped by your emotions. Imagine walking into a room full of strangers. While some freeze or try to appear confident, you can see who is leading, who avoids eye contact, who feels uncomfortable, and who is open to talking, not because they say it, but because you sense it. That is the power of social intelligence. People with this skill notice subtle details: a change in tone during a discussion, a glance of doubt, a nervous laugh, a sigh before a comment. And most importantly, they know how to use that information. Is it something you are born with or something you can learn? There is a myth that charisma is innate, It is true that some people seem to have a natural intuition, but social intelligence is not a fixed trait or a matter of genetics. It is a skill, and like any skill, it can be trained. Yes, some grew up in environments where they had to adapt quickly to others for cultural, emotional, or survival reasons. But that does not mean that those who did not have that experience are doomed to fail socially. On the contrary, your ability to connect, influence, and build real relationships can be developed at any stage of life. Why is it more important now than ever? We live in a paradox. We have never been so digitally connected, and at the same time, so emotionally distant. People show their lives online but feel invisible in real life. Productivity has increased in many workplaces, but genuine collaboration has decreased. In this scenario, social intelligence becomes an advantage. It is what allows a leader to inspire instead of command. It is what makes a therapist truly understand. It is what turns a salesperson into a problem solver instead of a manipulator. And it is what turns you into someone who leaves a mark. Think about it for a moment. The people we remember are not always the most brilliant, but the ones who made us feel important. Those who knew how to listen without interrupting, who asked the right question at the right time, who spoke the truth without hurting, those who built trust quickly. That is not a coincidence. That is social intelligence in action. Many of us were taught rules, formulas, and theories, but no one taught us to read emotions, to understand silences, to perceive hidden resentment, to notice the pain behind a criticism, or to realize when someone is distant even while smiling. That is why so many meetings are tense, messages are misunderstood, friendships grow cold, bosses inspire fear instead of respect, and relationships fall into conflict without clear reason. Because it is not just what we say but how we say it, and whether we can sense what the other person needs even when they do not express it. This is where the difference lies between pleasing and influencing. It is easy to want to be liked, to be pleasant, to avoid discomfort, but being liked is not the same as connecting. A person with social intelligence does not seek approval. They seek understanding, clarity, and genuine bonds built with authenticity. They know that true influence cannot be forced. It must be earned. The best conversations are not the ones that end in victory, but the ones that open new paths. This first chapter is just the beginning, an invitation. What follows is a journey into the heart of human interaction. Together, we will learn how to detect emotional patterns in others without making assumptions. How to use your voice, your body, and your energy to connect. How to face difficult conversations without fear. How to influence with honesty, avoid manipulation or self-sabotage. And above all, how to build relationships based on empathy, clarity, and presence. And one more warning. Once you start developing your social intelligence, you will no longer be able to ignore what used to go unnoticed. You will feel the tension in a room before anyone raises their voice. You will see how many conversations are silent screams behind polite words. You will notice masks, wounds, and hidden desire, and you will learn to respond calmly, with the strength of someone who does not need to dominate to be heard. With the strength of someone who understands that real power does not come from being right, but from understanding. 2. Empathy, the heart of every human relationship. Empathy is not about feeling for someone, it is about feeling with that person, without losing who you are. What does empathy really mean? It is a word we often use, but few people take the time to understand it deeply. Many think it is sympathy, others confuse it with kindness, but empathy goes far beyond that. It is not just an emotion, it is a skill that combines perception, sensitivity, and choice. Empathy means putting yourself in someone else's place, sensing what they feel and responding from connection. But it also involves discernment, knowing when to enter the emotional space and when to keep a healthy distance, so you do not lose your balance. Here we will open every layer of empathy, its forms, the obstacles that hold it back, and how to train it until it becomes a powerful social guide. There are two main sides to empathy: emotional and cognitive. Even though we usually speak of empathy as one, it actually manifests in these two ways. Emotional empathy happens when we instantly feel what another person is experiencing. If you see someone crying, you feel sadness. If someone laughs with genuine joy, something awakens inside you. It is automatic, born deep within us, and many times we do not even notice it. It has a biological base, known as mirror neurons, which reproduce in our brain what we see in others. This form connects us intimately with other people's emotions. Cognitive empathy, on the other hand, is understanding with your mind what someone feels, even if you do not feel the same way. It is a mental process that lets you recognize someone's emotional state without necessarily sharing it. This kind of empathy allows you to see things from another perspective, analyze with objectivity, and respond with clarity. It is essential in helping professions, leadership, or mediation, where too much emotion can work against you. Why do we need both? Because emotional empathy unites us as human beings, but without cognitive empathy, we can become overwhelmed, and cognitive empathy without emotion can become cold and distant. The balance between the two allows us to respond with warmth and clarity. It makes us compassionate but not naive, connected but not lost in others. Are we born empathetic, or do we learn it? Some people seem to have it naturally. They notice the smallest change in tone, a look or a pause, but that does not mean it is an exclusive gift. Like any social skill, it can be developed, and it all begins with something simple: listening. Empathetic listening goes beyond words. Listening is not staying quiet while the other person speaks. It is being truly present. To listen with empathy means to pay attention, not only to what is said but also to the tone, the silences, and the posture. It means avoiding judgment, not thinking about your answer while the other person is still talking, not trying to fix something that has not even been expressed yet. Often the person does not want advice. They just want to be heard, to feel recognized. Sometimes all it takes is a look or a silent gesture that says, "I see you, I understand you, I am here." Why is it so difficult for us? Because we live in a culture of speed, productivity, and efficiency. In that world, taking time to feel what others feel seems like a waste of time, when in truth, it is what gives meaning to human connection. There are also internal barriers: fear of feeling too much, believing that if we get involved, we will drown in someone else's pain; moral judgment, thinking the other deserves what happened, and closing the door to understand; impatience, wanting the other person to feel better quickly because their pain makes us uncomfortable; and egocentrism, being so focused on ourselves that we no longer see the other. Overcoming these barriers requires humility, awareness, and willingness. Empathy does not mean agreeing. It is important to remember that understanding how someone feels does not mean you support what they do or think. You can disagree with their opinion and still understand their emotion. Empathy is not about justifying. It is about understanding. It does not mean allowing disrespect or abuse. It means looking beyond the surface and recognizing what the other person is living inside. Practiced intentionally, empathy transforms relationships. Arguments fade, trust rises, and people open up and feel emotionally safe. It creates an invisible space where others can relax and show who they really are. This is vital in work, in family, and in relationships. Often you do not need to have the solution. Just your presence is enough. One of the most powerful forms of empathy is validation. It does not mean you agree. It means you recognize the other person's feelings as real. Saying things like, "I understand why you feel that way. I see why you are frustrated," or "I can tell this affects you," has a huge impact, because the other person stops feeling alone. Validation brings calm even when the problem remains. And there is also empathy toward yourself. We cannot talk about empathy without looking inward. How do you treat your own emotions, with judgment or with compassion? Do you force yourself to always be fine? Do you blame yourself for feeling too much? Empathy begins at home. If you cannot treat yourself kindly in sadness or anxiety, you will not be able to hold space for someone else's pain. Practicing self-empathy means recognizing what you feel without denying it, speaking to yourself as you would to someone you love, allowing yourself to feel without excuses, and remembering that feeling is not weakness. It is being human. How can you put this into practice daily? Here are some ideas. Listen to understand, not to respond. Ask open questions like, "How did that make you feel?" or "What was the hardest part for you?" Name emotions carefully. Are you feeling frustrated, Observe without rushing to interpret. Be aware of your posture, your look, and lean slightly toward the other person. Avoid giving advice that was not asked for. Reflect emotions without exaggerating or minimizing them. Empathy is tested in difficult moments when we disagree, when we are hurt, when we are blamed, or when the other person shuts down. In those moments, empathy does not mean giving in to everything. It means keeping your dignity and your ability to see the other as human, beyond their harsh words. Sometimes the greatest act of empathy is walking away without hurting, or setting a boundary without hate. As a social compass, empathy becomes essential. The most socially intelligent people are not the ones who talk the most, but the ones who feel the most. Those who can read what others are expressing, even behind irony, sarcasm, or silence, are the ones who respond with understanding instead of reaction. Who manages to maintain bonds even when there is disagreement. Who knows when to hug, when to stay quiet, when to ask, and when to simply be there. Free beyond what we say with words, there is a language that needs none. The body speaks even when we stay silent, and often the eyes express what the voice does not dare to say, especially when what we feel does not match what we say. Surely at some point someone told you, "I am fine," but their face, their tone, or the way they stood made you feel that it was not true. That is nonverbal language in action. We often think communication is about words, phrases, and arguments. But the truth is that most of what we transmit, almost 90%, does not come from what we say, but from what we show without realizing it. Gestures, looks, tone, silence, or movement have much more weight than we usually think. The body does not lie. The way someone sits, walks, or positions themselves in a conversation shows their level of confidence or defense. Crossed arms usually indicate resistance. A body leaning forward shows interest. Repetitive or restless movements reveal nervousness. Even legs pointing toward the exit can show a desire to end the talk. The key is not one isolated gesture, but the overall coherence of behavior. Hand movements reinforce the message. We use them to mark ideas, emotions, or intentions, but they can also reveal what we try to hide. Open hands show honesty. Touching the face or neck often means tension or discomfort. Hidden hands generate distrust. Watching how someone moves their hands while speaking helps you see whether they are nervous, confident, trying to convince, or seeking approval. 4. Eye contact. The invisible link between two people. The eyes set the rhythm of interaction. A look can be a bridge of trust or a sign of dominance. Avoiding eye contact can mean shyness, discomfort, or dishonesty, although in some contexts it can also mean respect. Staring too intensely can intimidate. Looking too little can seem evasive. The best is a natural look that flows with the dialogue. Eyes also reveal deep emotions such as sadness, joy, or emptiness even before a person speaks. 5. Tone of voice. The voice transmits as much emotion as the words. The rhythm, the tone, the intensity, and the volume all tell what a person feels. A flat voice can sound bored or resigned. A fast or high-pitched voice shows nerves or excitement. Speaking too loudly can sound like anger or control. A soft voice transmits calm, closeness, or vulnerability. Listening to how something is said, more than just what is said, can completely change your understanding of someone. Congruence. When body and words are not aligned, nonverbal language is more believable. If someone says they are happy to see you but avoids your eyes, speaks in a cold tone, and turns their body toward the exit, which do you believe? Our brain detects those inconsistencies and warns us that something does not fit. The art of reading without judgment. This is not about becoming a lie detector or manipulating others. It is about learning to connect better, to respond more humanly. To do that, you must observe with curiosity, not with judgment. Do not rush to conclusions. Every person has their own style. The key is to look for patterns, changes, and context, not to label someone based on one single gesture. Your own nonverbal language matters too. The things you communicate without realizing it. Is your posture open or closed? Does your tone reflect what you want to say? Does your face show what you feel? Does your gaze stay present or drift away? Being aware of this gives you power. You can adjust your expression to connect better and inspire trust. It is not about pretending. It is about aligning what you think, feel, and do. How can you improve your nonverbal communication? Here are a few simple exercises. Record yourself during a conversation and watch. Look at your face, your posture, your hands, and your voice. Practice maintaining eye contact while listening, without invading or avoiding. Pause when speaking and do not fear silence. Relax your shoulders and open your posture. It invites connection. Smile sincerely when greeting, not as a reflex. Subtly mirror the other person's posture. It creates harmony. The power of nonverbal language lies in its ability to create something positive. An attentive look can calm a conflict. A kind gesture can bring more comfort than many words. A warm tone can open more doors than a long argument. When you become aware of what your body says and learn to read what others express, your relationships become more authentic, more meaningful, and far more effective. 4. Emotional intelligence, the art of understanding yourself so you can move closer to others. You cannot guide others if you do not first know how to manage your own emotions. Emotional intelligence is not only an inner skill, it is the foundation of any real relationship. Emotions are guides, not obstacles. We come from a culture that for years placed control, logic, and reason on a pedestal. Do not cry. Do not take it personally. Use your head, not your heart. With phrases like these, we were taught to see emotions as a nuisance, a weakness, or a danger. But today we know something else. Emotions are not the problem, they are data. They are signals. Learning to read them, understand them, and manage them, in yourself and in others, is what sets apart someone with real emotional intelligence. This chapter is a deep dive into emotional intelligence. How is it built? Why does it change our relationships? And how can you turn it into one of your greatest strengths? What exactly is emotional intelligence? It is the ability to recognize, understand, and manage what you feel, and also to recognize, understand, and influence what others feel. Unlike intelligence quotient, which measures thinking skills, emotional intelligence focuses on the inner world, on how we treat others, how we resolve conflict, how we lead, and how we create strong and healthy bonds. Daniel Goleman, one of the best-known researchers in this field, described 5 essential pillars. 1. Emotional self-awareness. Know what you feel and why. Self-awareness means identifying what you feel in the moment, not later, not after you have exploded or shut down, but while it is happening. It is noticing which emotion is present, why you feel it, and how it affects what you think, what you say, and what you do. For example, it is not the same to say I am in a bad mood as to say I feel frustrated because my time was not respected. This clarity helps you make wiser choices and respond instead of react. 2. Emotional self-regulation. Pause before you blow up. To self-regulate is not to repress what you feel. It is the ability to manage your impulses in a constructive way. People who self-regulate do not explode at the smallest trigger. They know how to calm themselves when they are angry. They can stay steady in a crisis. They choose when to express what they feel. Self-regulation helps you care for your relationships without betraying yourself. It is expressing what you feel without needing to hurt. It is being upset and still deciding not to shout. 3. Inner motivation. The emotional engine behind your actions. Someone with emotional intelligence does not move only for external rewards like money, praise, or status, but for a deep drive connected to their values. This gives resilience in the face of problems, passion to improve, strength to keep going. and the capacity to encourage yourself without depending on the approval of others. This type of motivation becomes vital in times of change, uncertainty, or frustration, because it is your inner strength that holds you up. 4. Empathy. Feel with the other, without losing yourself. We already explored empathy in the previous chapter, but here it is, the bridge between your emotions and those of others. It is not only kindness, it is a strategic skill in relationships. It is sensing what others feel, even when they do not say it. It is adjusting your response to what the other person needs. It is noticing the emotional climate of a group. It is listening for real, without interrupting or judging. Empathy is reading the heart of others, without invading it. 5. Social skills. Emotional practice in action. This pillar is your capacity to communicate with clarity, to resolve conflict without losing your calm, to inspire and lead with authenticity, and to collaborate well with all kinds of people. This is where all your emotional intelligence turns into action, where your patience is tested, where your ability to listen, to handle tension, and to build relationships that last is proven. The connection between emotional intelligence and social intelligence. You may wonder if they are not the same. The difference is small but important. Emotional intelligence is internal. How do you handle your inner world? Social intelligence is external. How do you navigate the emotional world of others? One feeds the other. You cannot read others if you do not know how to read yourself. You cannot influence without manipulation if you do not regulate your emotions. How does this affect your relationships? Here are some simple examples from daily life. In a couple's argument, you choose to express what you need instead of attacking. After a hurtful comment, you breathe and decide to respond with firmness, not with violence. At work, you notice that a colleague is exhausted, and you offer support without being asked. In a group, you adjust your tone because you sense tension. In an interview, you manage your anxiety so you can be authentic without oversharing. Emotional intelligence is not about being a nice person. It is about using your emotions as a compass to relate better. Common obstacles to developing it. This is not an instant process. There are blocks to face. Emotional denial. That does not affect me. I am not emotional. Inner judgment. Believing that feeling is weakness. Avoidance. Distracting yourself so you do not feel. Dysregulation. Acting on impulse and not being able to calm down. Overcoming these blocks requires honesty, practice, and patience with yourself. How to develop it, day by day. Some simple exercises. Emotional journal. Each night write what you felt, what triggered it, and how you reacted. Conscious pause. Before you answer in a tense conversation, take 3 breaths, create space between what happens and your response. Reframe your emotions. Instead of "I feel bad," say "I feel fear," or "I feel disappointment." Naming emotions lowers their intensity. Watch your impulses. Ask yourself which emotion drives them. Ask for feedback. Ask close people how they see you handle emotions in hard moments. Emotional intelligence as a key to lead, to love, and to live together. Whatever your role as parent, partner, manager, friend, or teammate, your emotional intelligence defines the quality of your relationships. It is not your charm, your power to persuade, or your logic. It is your ability to stay calm under pressure, to listen before judging, to show your humanity with clear limits, to inspire from your authenticity instead of an image of perfection. Emotional intelligence is not only useful, today it is essential. 5. The art of communication is learning to speak and connect more. It is not only what you say, but how you say it, when you say it, and how you make the other person feel when you say it. Everyone talks. Real communication is less common. As children, we learn to speak, but no one teaches us to communicate with intention and awareness. The truth is that being able to express ideas does not guarantee that others will understand us, and much less that we will connect, influence, or inspire. Good communication does not depend on being friendly or outgoing. It is based on something deeper. It is delivering a message aligned with your emotions, with your intention, and with the needs of the other person. Speak about what hurts without starting a war. Be certain the other person will not leave at the first difficulty. It is the feeling that you can be yourself, without masks, and still be loved, not tolerated. Signs that trust exists in a relationship. You can be silent, without feeling awkward. You can say no without guilt. You can share something personal, without fear that it will be used against you. You can make a mistake, without fearing an emotional punishment. You can trust that the other person will speak the truth, even when it is not what you want to hear. These are signs of a safe space, a space worth protecting. How can you build trust if you have been hurt before? It is normal to raise barriers. When someone you trusted failed you, but closing yourself completely does not prevent pain. It only ensures loneliness. Here are some practices to open up wisely. First, trust yourself. Self-trust reduces the need for outside validation. Second, recognize that each person is different. If someone failed you, it does not mean everyone will. Third, go slowly. It is not about giving yourself away all at once, but about building step by step. Communicate your limits with clarity. Trust does not grow in confusion. Choose carefully who receives your vulnerability. Not everyone deserves it, but do not stop sharing it forever. Trust is also shown through presence. We often think a big speech is needed, but the most powerful act is often simply being there. Stay close during pain, without trying to fix it. Listen without interrupting. Keep a calm gaze when the other person feels shame. Stay, simply stay, when it is needed most. That emotional presence may be the deepest act of trust you can offer. 6. Emotional regulation. The strength to stay calm when everything seems to be on fire. The problem is not what you feel. The problem is what you do with what you feel. Emotion is not your enemy. What works against you is reacting without thinking. We also did not learn to identify what we feel very well. Many times, we let impulse drive us without reflection. In the middle of intensity, the rational brain goes dim and the reactive brain, the limbic system, takes control. The good news is that emotional regulation can be trained. With practice, you strengthen an emotional muscle that gives you calm, clarity, and steadiness, even in hard moments. The 3 key moments of regulation. 1. Before the emotion, prevention. Learn to recognize your patterns. Which topics or people trigger you fastest? Knowing your triggers lets you anticipate. 2. During the emotion, intervention. When it arises, apply 3 steps. Feel, observe what happens in your body. Tension, heat, acceleration. Name, give the emotion a precise name. It is not only anger, it can be disappointment. Breathe. Take a real pause, physical and emotional, so you do not act on autopilot. This process cuts the impulse. After the emotion, recovery. Do not punish yourself for feeling. Reflect instead. What did you learn? Did you harm someone? Then repair. Ask yourself what you would do differently next time. Some simple tools to regulate yourself. Conscious breathing. Your breath is your anchor. When emotion rises, your breathing speeds up. If you choose to breathe slowly and deeply, your system calms down. Try this pattern. Inhale for 4 seconds, hold for 2, exhale for 6. Do it for 2 or 3 minutes. Body scan, pause, and check where there is tension. Jaw, shoulders, back. Relax with intention. Relabeling. It is not the same to say I am furious as to say I feel vulnerable and I am defending myself with anger. Changing the label helps you understand what is underneath and respond with more empathy. Observer technique. Imagine you are watching the situation as a witness. What would you notice if you were not the one involved? This reduces the emotional load and gives you clarity. Emotional journal. Write what you felt, what triggered it, how you reacted, and what you could improve. This practice gives you more self-awareness and shows your patterns. How to apply this in real life. In couple arguments, when you feel you are about to explode, stop, say, I need a moment to calm down, and respond with clarity. Breathe, think, and return in a calmer state. Do not use silence as punishment. Use the pause as a tool. At work, when you receive harsh or unexpected criticism, breathe before you speak. Thank the person without sarcasm. You can say, "Thank you for sharing it. I would like to think about it," and then we can return to it. That mature response earns respect. In hard conversations, prepare your emotional state. Use empathic lines like, "I want to speak with care because I value our relationship." Watch your tone and your body language. How you say something weighs as much as what you say. Emotional regulation is also a tool of influence. When you can stay calm in the middle of chaos, others see you as a point of stability. Your way of handling yourself is contagious. Your calm guides. People who regulate their emotions, generate trust, diffuse conflict, are sought out in crises, and earn credibility. Your peace not only helps you, it is also a gift to those around you. Caring for your emotional energy does not mean forcing control over everything. To regulate is not to endure until you are exhausted. It also means to nourish yourself emotionally, so you do not overflow so easily. Ask yourself, am I sleeping well? Do I store tension without releasing it? Do I have spaces to process what I feel? Do I have people with whom I can be vulnerable? Sometimes what throws us off balance is not one single conversation, but a buildup of stored emotions. Common myths about regulation. Believing that control means not feeling. False. To regulate is to channel, not to repress. Believing that being emotional means being weak. False. To feel is human. What weakens you is ignoring what you feel. Believing that if you regulate yourself, others will walk all over you. False. Emotional firmness is more powerful than shouting. You can be firm and balanced at the same time. To regulate is not the same as coldness. There is a difference between someone who represses and seems distant, and someone who feels intensely, but knows how to express themselves with responsibility. The goal is not to put out your fire, the goal is to turn it into light, instead of a blaze. 7. Reading a room. How can you pick up the energy, the mood, and those invisible rules that no one says out loud, but everyone feels, before you speak? Learn to observe. In any place there is a silent language that shows itself even if no one names it. Beyond people, there is the intelligence of context. So far we have spoken about social intelligence at a personal level, understanding someone, managing your emotions, connecting in a one-on-one talk, but there is a wider and more fascinating level. It is the system in which you move. Every group, team, family, or organization has its own emotional climate, hidden hierarchies, and unwritten rules. Learning to read this terrain is not manipulation, it is orientation with sensitivity and sound judgment. This chapter is about how to read a group, a room, or a conversation as a whole, and how to use that reading to influence in a natural way, to adapt without losing yourself, and to move with collective intelligence. What does it mean to read a room? It means noticing the emotional tone that dominates. It means spotting who holds real power, even if they do not have the highest title. It means watching roles, silences, alliances, and tension. It means recognizing what can be said and what cannot. In other words, it is sensing what happens under the talk. In every group interaction, there are 3 levels. 1. The explicit level, what is said and what is seen. Example, someone presents a report in a meeting. 2. The emotional level, what is felt without a name, discomfort, enthusiasm, nerves, rivalry. Example, while someone speaks, others cross their arms, avoid eye contact, or look at each other with disapproval. 3. The invisible level, the implicit rules, shared fears, and power games. Example, no one contradicts the boss, even if they disagree. Silence does not mean approval, it means submission. A socially intelligent person moves with awareness across the 3 levels and does not stay only with what is obvious. How do you begin to read the mood? Ask simple questions when you enter a group. Who speaks the most? Who speaks the least? Who do people look at when there is doubt? Which topics bring silence? Who sets the tone without a title? What kind of humor is allowed that no one names but you can feel in the air? This curiosity activates your social radar and sharpens your perception. The collective body language is another key. The body does not lie. By watching a group, you can see closed postures, crossed arms, bodies leaning back, signs of mistrust or judgment. You can also notice synchronicity, acceptance, or who takes more physical space, which often signals status. You spot averted eyes, quiet discomfort, and subtle alliances like who sits next to whom. Social intelligence is not only heard, it is also seen and felt. Every group has a dominant emotional climate. It can be tense or relaxed, competitive or cooperative, cold or warm. In some places vulnerability is rewarded. In others it is punished. You will not read this in any manual, but you will feel it. If you pay attention, that collective emotional field shapes your way of speaking, and your power to influence more than you think. Real power versus apparent power is also essential. In every group, there is a difference between the person who holds the formal role and the person who holds real influence. Sometimes the most heard person is not the boss, but the one who inspires trust, connects better, or knows how to moderate the mood. Spotting that person helps you move with precision. Then there are the invisible rules, the norms that no one says but everyone follows. Example: here you do not speak about personal matters. You do not contradict elders. Mistakes are not forgiven. You must always look positive. These rules set what can be said or shown. The problem is not that they exist. The problem is not seeing them. If you are not aware of them, you can make serious mistakes, be left out of decisions, or seem out of place. The key is to recognize them without losing your authenticity. In all groups, there is a center and a margin. Some people are heard and invited. Others are left out. Knowing how to detect these dynamics lets you empathize with those on the edges and avoid reinforcing exclusion. Real social intelligence is not for climbing. It is for including. To influence without imposing is another point. You do not need to dominate the conversation or speak loudly. You can ask the question no one dares to ask. You can name what everyone feels. You can validate the emotion that someone expressed with hesitation. You can show vulnerability with firmness. Influence is not in volume. It is in emotional attunement and the clarity of your presence. The most common mistakes when entering a group are clear. Entering with the urge to stand out without observing. Imposing ideas without knowing the context. Forcing closeness when the group is not open. Ignoring signs of discomfort. Talking more than listening before you step in. Observe before you correct. Understand before you judge. Breathe. Practical exercise. Observe without stepping in. In your next meeting or social event, do not speak during the first 10 minutes. If you can, watch gestures, silences, roles and energies. Make a mental map of who leads, who hides, who is heard, and who is ignored. Then take part from that understanding, not from impulse. This exercise will give you a deeper view of human dynamics. 8 difficult people. Energy intact. How do you deal with someone without letting them drag you down? You do not always choose who you must face, but you can choose how you react. We all know someone who upsets us. People who are easily offended, who turn everything into drama, who use guilt as a tool, who never listen but demand that you do. It seems they always carry a storm over their heads. They are in family, at work and among friends. You cannot always avoid them, but you can learn to respond with calm and without losing yourself. This chapter is a practical guide to handle tough interactions without wearing yourself out, to protect your energy without hardening your heart, and to set healthy limits with those who test your balance. Do not confuse empathy with erasing yourself. Many sensitive people believe that being a good person means enduring without limit, putting up with bad treatment, staying quiet to avoid hurting, and carrying other people's emotions. That is not empathy, that is forgetting yourself to hold another person's chaos. Real social intelligence combines empathy and limits. I listen to you, but I do not allow your emotion to invade me or control me. Common types of difficult people: the explosive one, shouts or threatens, reacts without a filter, and then justifies it. The victim, always suffers, always needs help, and lives in blame. The passive-aggressive person, never speaks clearly, but throws hints, sarcasm, or uses silence as punishment. The person who is always right, does not listen, and wants to control the talk. The emotional chameleon, charming at times, then suddenly cold or hostile, without explanation. Each one has a story and unresolved wounds. Your task is not to heal them or change them. Your task is to learn how to relate without losing direction. Golden rule: regulate before you respond. When an intense person explodes, breathe. Do not take it personally. Do not answer right away. Remember, 80% of conflicts grow because of automatic reactions. If you can create a pause, you already hold 80% of the control. How do you respond without playing the same game? If they shout, lower your voice. Do not go up to the same level. Say, I am willing to talk when we can do it without shouting. If they blame you for everything, return the responsibility. I am sorry you feel that way, but it does not depend only on me. If they act like a victim, listen, but do not carry it all. I understand this affects you. What do you plan to do about it? If they use guilt, respond with clarity. I will not do this, because I feel guilty. I prefer to decide with awareness. If they use passive aggression, name it calmly. I feel that something is bothering you. Do you want to talk about it directly? I am not comfortable with how this talk is going. I do not accept you speaking to me like this. Even if you are upset, I want to listen to you. But I need respect. I understand your point, but I also have the right to express mine. I prefer that you speak to me directly, instead of using sarcasm. These are clear, firm, and respectful phrases that stop the cycle without violence. Do you see yourself in these lines? I always end up calming everyone. I cannot stand to see someone suffer, and I step in. I prefer to carry the weight myself, before someone else feels bad. If so, you may have fallen into the savior trap. It is the belief that your job is to calm or fix what others cannot. Be careful, that is not empathy, that is codependence. The savior role empties you, fills you with resentment, creates dependence in others, and disconnects you from yourself. Your task is not to save, your task is to accompany with clear limits. A limit is not a punishment, it is protection for your peace. You can set them like this. Physical: I will not stay in a place where people shout. Time-based: let us talk tomorrow. I need to rest now. Energy-based: I cannot absorb everything you feel. Conversational: I will not argue if you interrupt me all the time. Most important of all, do not over-explain. A limit does not need a long explanation, if it protects your well-being. Sometimes, the healthiest choice is to take distance. Clear signs: you feel drained after every interaction. You start to doubt yourself because of what they say. You change who you are to avoid conflict. One single conversation leaves you feeling bad for days. Walking away is not hate. It is accepting that you cannot grow where there is no respect. Difficult people are not your enemies, but they are not eternal teachers either. There is a toxic belief that says they came to teach you something. Maybe you learn, but that does not mean you must stay in relationships that consume you. No one is obligated to endure mistreatment in the name of growth. You decide how much you give, how much you tolerate, when you say enough, and how you care for yourself. That is social intelligence. Many people who tolerate chaos do so because they learned a script in childhood. I have no value if I do not. If I step away, I am a bad person. I must endure so people will love me. These patterns are born in homes where love was tied to sacrifice. Today you can write a new script. I can be empathetic without absorbing.
I can love without erasing myself. I can accompany without carrying the entire load. That is the beginning of true emotional maturity. Breathe before you respond. Do not correct emotions. Validate what the other person is living. Repeat inside, "This is not mine. I do not keep it." Ask, "What do you need from me right now?" Instead of guessing. If you feel overloaded, ask for a pause. "I feel very burdened. I prefer to talk later." Your center is not negotiable. Your calm is your greatest power. What is not said piles up. What piles up explodes, or grows cold. We all have pending talks. Those conversations we avoid. "I need to tell you how I feel with you. I am no longer happy in this relationship. What you did hurt me. I cannot keep tolerating this. I need to set a limit." These talks are full of emotion, vulnerability, and discomfort, but they are also the door to healthier, more authentic, and more mature relationships. We avoid them because we are afraid of rejection, of conflict, of losing the relationship, of hurting the other person, of running out of words, of breaking the calm even when that calm is only a facade. What we avoid on the outside ends up consuming us on the inside. When we do not speak about what weighs on us, we create awkward silence, stored resentment, emotional distance, confusion and frustration. Speaking in time, even if it is uncomfortable, prevents the relationship from being damaged in silence. Know what you want to say, no detours, and no sarcasm. Express yourself with emotional precision. Go beyond the fear of conflict. Do not sweeten the message so much that it loses meaning. Do not hide what hurts. Do not use truth as a weapon. Do not punish with words. Speak to move closer, not to unload. When clarity, courage and care come together, truth becomes a bridge, not a knife. Ask yourself what you truly want from this talk. To heal, to set a limit, to express pain, to close a chapter. Clarify which emotion dominates in you. Sadness, frustration, hurt, disappointment. Choose the right moment. Do not speak at the peak of emotion. Breathe, regulate, organize your ideas, and visualize the scene. What will you say? What might the other person answer? How will you stay centered? Speaking from calm and awareness greatly increases the chance of being heard. The way you open the talk sets the tone. Here are lines that work. "I need to tell you something that is important to me. It is not easy, but I prefer to speak with respect, rather than keep it inside. I value our relationship a lot, and that is why I want to tell you something that hurt me. I want us to talk about something uncomfortable, without moving apart, but to move closer." These openings lower defenses, show your intention, and prepare the other person to receive the message. Name how you feel. "I felt sad, hurt or frustrated." Describe what happened without exaggeration or judgment. "When X happened," explain how you interpreted it. "I felt it as a lack of care." Restate the bond. "I am not saying this out of anger. I am saying it because I value our relationship." Then bring clarity. Express what you need. "I would like us to be able to," and open space for dialogue. "How do you see it?" Or invite a joint solution. Accusing with "you always," or "you never." Raising your voice to win. Using irony to hide pain. Making lists of old mistakes. Playing the victim as manipulation. Speaking from impulse. Anything that sounds like attack or defense cuts off connection. You do not need to be right. You need to be understood. If someone comes to you with something hard, do not counter right away. Do not minimize with "it was not that bad." Do not give quick excuses. Breathe, make eye contact, and respond with lines like, "Thank you for telling me. It is hard to hear, but I value it. I had not seen it that way. Thank you for showing me. I want to think about it calmly. Can I answer tomorrow?" That openness shows emotional maturity. If the talk heats up, it is fine to pause. You can say, "I feel myself closing. Can we breathe for a moment? I feel we are going off track. Let us go back to the point. I want to keep talking, but without hurting each other. Let us pause and return later." Conscious pauses do not cut the dialogue. They save it. If the other person does not want to talk or shuts down, remember that you cannot force anyone to open up. but you can express your intention without pressure. I do not want to force anything, I only want to say something that is important to me. When you are ready to talk, I will be here. I respect your timing, but my door is open. Sometimes planting the seed with respect matters more than demanding an instant answer. Having a difficult conversation does not mean breaking the relationship. Many people believe that speaking about painful topics destroys a bond, but in truth relationships break more often because of what is never said. Difficult conversations, when handled well, strengthen the bond. Trust grows when someone dares to speak with honesty. It is not conflict that destroys. It is the lack of care during conflict. The power of being heard with truth is healing. When someone says to you, "Thank you for trusting me with this. It was not easy to hear, but I appreciate your honesty. I heard you and I want to improve." The talk becomes more than a dialogue. It becomes repair, growth, and human connection. To be heard with empathy in a hard moment is one of the most transformative experiences in life. A difficult conversation should not be a dump of emotion, a score settling, a revenge attempt, or a list of reproaches in a monologue. It should be an emotional encounter, a vulnerable opening, a space to grow, and an act of love, even if it is to close a chapter. Thank yourself and the other person for being open. Give space if they need to process. Celebrate your courage for speaking. Do not demand an instant solution. Stay open to adjustments and improvements. Sometimes speaking already relieves half the emotional weight. Speaking truth is one of the deepest acts of love for yourself and for the relationship. Saying what is uncomfortable with respect, courage, and empathy is one of the most powerful skills in social intelligence. When you express what you kept inside for a long time, you get your voice back. You honor what you feel. You give the other person a real chance to understand you, and you give the relationship a real chance to renew itself. Difficult conversations are not only about words, they are about showing who you are and what you feel with the sincere desire that the other person can do the same. When that happens, even if it is uncomfortable and even if it hurts, something true lights up, a connection that is more honest, more mature, and more free. We have traveled a deep path together, exploring the keys to social intelligence, from empathy to the art of handling dull conversations. Remember that real connection is not a gift, it is a skill you can train every day. Every interaction is a chance to practice, to listen better, to respond with more calm, and to build relationships that are more authentic and strong. If this journey to understand and improve your connections brought you value, I invite you to join our community. Give this video a like, so it can reach more people who need it. Subscribe to the channel so you do not miss our future lessons, and turn on the notification bell. That way we will keep growing together, learning to communicate not only with the mind, but also with the heart. Thank you for being here. See you in the next video.